It's hard to believe, but it's about to be RJ Davis's senior year of college. And I think it's safe to say that Coach Pac Kilby and I both expect massive things from RJ this year from that New York native. Just how big? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and joining me as he always does is our guy, Coach Pac Kilby, who's thick in the middle of watching Swamp Kings on Netflix. And no, that's not like Tiger King, which I first thought it was. This is about the Florida Gators. Anyway, Pac and I want to thank you for joining us today to get your first listen or watch of the day. By the way, this episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or enter promo code lockedoncollege for a free white tech hat. I'm rocking it right now with any purchase. You won't want to take off your Bird Dogs. We promise you that. All right, coming up on the show today, we're continuing our summer basketball roster preview series. We've been rolling right along, Coach Pac. We've done the freshmen, Elliot, Cadeau, and Zayden high. We went through the sophomores, Seth, Trimble, Jalen, Washington. We went through the juniors, Harrison, Ingram, and James Okonkwo. Last week, we did Jae'lyn Withers, who's technically classified as a grad transfer. And now we get to the lone scholarship senior on this team. That's weird, Pac. There's only one scholarship senior on this team, and his name is RJ Davis. My man Pac, as we always do, would you hit us with some biographical information and some statistical domination from Mr. RJ Davis?
You bet. So RJ is a senior. Obviously, he's a guard, plays the 1 and the 2 for us from White Plains, New York, 6 foot in height. Weight is 180 pounds, jersey number 4. Twitter handle at Ari, ARII, Davis, _. Instagram handle, the exact same, ARII Davis.
We love it. I feel like we've had a good string of that lately, Pac.
Yeah, it's been nice, easy, simple. All right. Let me hit you with some stats here. So last year, Carolina played 33 games total. RJ started in 32 of those. And the only reason he didn't start 33 was because he didn't start on senior night versus Duke, which is obviously so we had enough seniors that we didn't have to sit.
That's going to be again this year. There's like 80,000 seniors on the roster.
Yeah. So minutes, 35. That's a lot. I'm sure we'll get into that. That needs to change. Points, 16.1 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 1.9 turnovers, 2 total blocks. Really getting up there in the blocks. 1.1 steals per game. Field goals, 179 for 409, which is good for 43.8% from the field. 3-point field goals, 63 for 174, which was 36.2%. Free throws, this is pretty good. 111 for 126, which is good for 88.1%.
I mean, that's pretty good, Pac. Pretty good from the free throw line for RJ. Okay, I want to dive right in to, I don't think I'd call it the elephant in the room, but I think it's the mind on, or the question on the mind of most Tar Heels is this. This senior year will be RJ Davis's first year without playing with Caleb Love in the backcourt together. Hard to believe it. 3 years together, and now Caleb's in the desert with Coach Steve Robinson. So my question that I want us to start with right out of the gate, what does a Caleb Love-less RJ Davis look like? What do you think, Pac? What do you think about that?
There's a lot of things that come to mind, but I'll tell you this. I think RJ's been waiting for this, and to be honest with you, probably somewhat patiently. I think it's probably been at times frustrating for him. And that's not a knock at Caleb, but Caleb did take a bulk of shots for us that probably should have gone to RJ if we're just being real about it. If we want to talk about efficiency and things of that nature, I think RJ's proven statistically to be a much more efficient player. And RJ's kind of taken a side role to Caleb to an extent. And now this is finally his team. He's the guard. He's the leader. He's going to run the show. And I'm not necessarily saying he's going to be the point guard, but him and Armando are the veterans of this team.
Well, and I think he's a more natural leader than Armando, just like by personality.
Yes. And I've seen them practice a couple times with my own eyes and been there live. And I can tell you, RJ is as vocal as anyone on that team, with maybe the exception this year of Cormac Ryan. I've heard he's very vocal and getting after it in practice. But this is still RJ's team. He's the guard. He's the leader. And the way we play has always started through our guards. And so I think what this is going to look like for him is confidence. And he's finally going to get and be in a situation where the shots are literally created for him. The offense, to some extent, is going to be around him and to get him good looks and allow him to do what he does best, which is knock down shots and create and make reads off of that. He doesn't have to score. I mean, you look back at the Baylor game from a couple of years ago when he had 12 assists there, and it was just simply on making the right reads. And I think we're going to get back to some of that this year with him being in that position, and I look forward to that because I think RJ's primed for this. As long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to have a great year.
Well, Pac, to that point you just made about staying healthy, here's a little pop quiz for you. In RJ Davis's career, how many games has he missed?
I mean, golly, I'm going to say at least one or two, just because we've had deep seasons and he's played in a lot of them throughout his already played 3 years. So I'm going to say 2.
You, my friend, have gone way too high. The answer is 0. RJ Davis has not missed a single game in his Carolina career. By the way, neither did Caleb. And the reason I remember this really well is I tweeted it out ahead of last season, like, hey, in their first 2 years, neither RJ Davis or Caleb Love have missed a single game at Carolina. And people got all mad at me because I clearly jinxed them. Well, the same thing happened last year. Neither of them missed a game. RJ's freshman year, Carolina played 29 games. He played all 29. His sophomore year, the run to the national championship game, Carolina played 39. He played all 39. Last year, Carolina played 33. He played all 33. This dude might be a little bit diminutive in size, but man, he is fit and ready to handle the rigors of this thing. Now, Pac, obviously, we can't make predictions about if that'll hold up again because who knows, what kind of freak accidents may happen. But here's what I do want to say. As you were skating through the minutes per game there, you said, 35 minutes per game. That's got to come down. And I think that's something that the more wear and tear that RJ gets on his body, no matter how prepared he is, if you're getting up into that 35 plus minutes per game territory, your body is going to eventually fatigue. I don't care how prepared you are. So, Pac, my question for you, for this dude that's put so much basketball on his frame, and it's held up really well so far, let's each give a number of what we think would be an ideal minutes per game for this season for RJ Davis to play. And I mean that both in terms of for Carolina's success, for the health of his body, for who would be getting those minutes behind him.
Well, first of all, let's all stop and knock on wood. Okay.
I'm sorry. I just jinxed us maybe time again, but I didn't jinx us last year. It's going to be good.
All right. I'm trusting you.
You shouldn't. Honestly, you probably shouldn't trust me about anything in life.
So, my thoughts on this are here's what I would like to see with RJ and his minutes. Ideally, 30 to 31 minutes per game. Now, you might look at that and go, well, that's not a huge difference from 35. But in reality, it is a huge difference. A 4-minute break in a game is the difference in taking 3 or 4 defensive plays off and not. And that could be the difference in 3 or 4 made threes and not. That it can make or break a basketball game. And so when you look at it like that, 4 minutes is a huge deal. And over time, how that adds up is an even bigger deal, And so where I'm going with this is this. We talked about this last year. I would love to see us get some of our depth in early and figure out what they can do. Give them some experience, and let's see how they can contribute or how they can't contribute. And in that process, we're also allowing RJ to lower his minutes, stay healthy, keep his body from wearing down, keep his body from fatiguing. And as the season goes on and we get closer to ACC tournament, or maybe it's just ACC play in general, ACC tournament, NCAA tournament, if we have to play him 35 minutes a game to win, then play him 35 minutes a game. But let's save up his body until we get to that point where we have to have him. That's what I would like to see us do.
That makes a ton of sense to me, Pac. Yeah, I think that low 30s is a good number to shoot for, because less than that, and you're probably like, there's this range that a coaching staff has to figure out is what is too much, where we don't want to play a player to wear his body down, but what is getting him enough minutes to where he's his most efficient and impactful. I don't know how you like that's honestly something that some basketball guru like wonderkind should figure out. Like, how do you figure out where that sweet spot is of getting the right amount of minutes to maximize a player's efficiency? And so I think for RJ, that is 30, 31 minutes. And I think for Carolina, that's where he's going to be at his best too. You know, how much more efficiency is he able to put out if he's 4 minutes fewer a game, as you were just talking about? And then when you think about, you know, you've got Seth Trimble, who hopefully should be taking a massive step forward this year. What can he do playing behind RJ? You know, what could you do with Cormac sliding between the 2 and the 3 sometimes, and Paxton Wojcik? What does that all look like? I think those are some of those conversations to figure out in terms of who gets those minutes. Well, Pac, here's the next thing I want to dive into, is looking at who's going to lead Carolina in scoring this year. I think people look at a 6'0" guard and think that dude can't lead this team in scoring, but ain't no reason he can't. I want to have that conversation in just a second. But before we get there, Pac, I need to tell you that today's episode of Locked On Tar Heels is brought to you by our friends at Bird Dogs. Summer may be winding down, but there's still plenty of time for you to rock your Bird Dog stretch khaki shorts, which are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you that truly sculpted look. Bird Dogs has fixed the issue of stiff, restricting cotton by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but it stretches so that you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice any of your movement. Also, one of my favorite things about Bird Dogs is they use anti-stink, sweat-wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. And Pac, for those of us living right here in the middle of the country, we need that desperately right now. This white tech hat you can get with your purchase. Look at this thing if you're watching on YouTube. I'm rocking it. I don't even usually look good in hats, but Pac, I feel like I look decent in this thing. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I'm a ball. It even looks good backwards. Oh, yeah. Come on. I look like a tennis player now, I think. Anyway, folks, you can go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege for this free white tech hat with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or promo code LockedOnCollege for this free white tech hat. Not this exact one. Gross. You don't want mine. You'll get your own. You won't want to take off your Bird Dogs. We promise you that. All right, Pac, here's the next question. This is an interesting one for me. Will RJ Davis be North Carolina's leading scorer this year? If your answer is yes, cool, let's talk about it. If your answer is no, I need you to tell me who it's going to be instead of RJ.
No, the answer to me is yes. And I'll just say it bluntly. I think if of all the guards in college basketball, now I'm not telling you what they're going to be when they get to the NBA. I'm telling you in college basketball, there's not a single one I would take over RJ Davis. When he's healthy, when that finger's not hurt, I'm telling you, the dude can fill it up and he is efficient. And I'm banking on him staying healthy this year and doing that. I don't see anyone outscoring him on our team. Now, I'll say this. I think we're going to be pretty balanced. I think Armando's going to contribute, 15 to 17 a game. I think Cormac won't be too far behind that. But I think RJ will be somewhere in that 17 to 19 points per game range. And I think he's going to do it efficiently.
I love to hear that. Well, let me ground it in even bigger nationwide numbers. Last year, leading scorer in the nation, Antoine Davis, Mike Davis's son, play 6'1", leading scorer in the nation. 3 years ago, Max Asmus, the little diminutive guy from Oral Roberts that took the nation by storm, transferred to Texas this year, 6'0", just like RJ Davis, led the nation, led Division I in scoring 3 years ago. So there's no reason to look at RJ Davis and be like, oh, he can't do it. I think this is his best chance ever to lead Carolina in scoring, specifically because kind of what we talked about earlier with Caleb and them having to share a lot of that load. I think RJ is going to be more often than he's ever been before that dude that Carolina relies on at the end of shot clocks. I think that Elliot is going to be somebody who can set him up more capably to be able to take those shots and put him in a position to win. Like you said, assuming this right index finger is in good shape, he should be great. Now, I think the person that challenges him is Armando Bacot. And for similar reasons, I think Armando is going to be in better position because of Elliot Cadeau than he's ever been before, too. So I think those are your two leading scorers. I like your point about the balanced scoring, and that makes Carolina ultimately a better team. But even on some of those best teams, Tyler Hansbrough is averaging, 20 points a game, basically, in his National Player of the Year season. And so no reason to think that even on a balanced roster, RJ can't fill it up in a big way.
In fact, I would argue because of the balance, that is why he's able to potentially have his best year ever.
I like that.
Because it opens things up for him because there's more than just the threat of RJ and more than just the threat of Armando. Now you have to worry about Cormac and you have to worry about Harrison and you have to worry about Withers and you have to worry about Paxton Wojcik coming in and filling it up. There's some legitimate threats on this team, and that opens up things for RJ and allows him to be the dude that he is.
Woo, I love to hear that. Now, we talked about that injured index finger. Both of us said it. Pac, here's another question. I've got all sorts of just fun questions for this RJ episode. What would RJ Davis have shot from three last year without an injured index finger? Let me say this before you answer. Despite that, he still had the best field goal percentage of his career and was barely behind his sophomore year from deep. His sophomore year, he shot 36.7, and last year he shot 36.2. Pac, let's just estimate without that. I mean, because we saw how on fire he absolutely was when he was healthy. What do you think he shoots if his index finger's healthy all year?
He shoots such a high volume of threes that 36.2% is honestly pretty good. But I think if he was healthy, it would have been probably somewhere between 38 and 40%, give or take, maybe more. But I think it's safe to say it would have probably been somewhere in that range. And this year, I would probably expect it to be somewhere in that low 40s. But I also expect him to still take a high volume, maybe a higher volume than he's taken before.
Well, you're going to get a good chance to answer that because I got an over-under for you coming up with that in just a second. But yeah, I'm with you. I think a healthy season-long index finger last year would have been good for 2 or 3 percentage points. I think because of Carolina's lack of shooting last year, it wouldn't have gone astronomically higher, but I think it could have gotten up right where you're saying, like 39-ish%. I think he could have gotten there. And honestly, Pac, I'm with you. I really want to see I think RJ, maybe it's because of the volume of shots that Caleb took in the last 3 years. I'd love to see RJ get up to 200 or more three-point attempts this year. Here's his attempts his first 3 years. 99 threes, 180, and then last season 174. No reason he shouldn't be up over 200. I think it's like when you're shooting as good a percentage as he is, I want you to keep filling it up more and more and more and more and a little bit more after that too. So on this episode, a lot of our summer preview roster episodes, we've been doing kind of a typical thing in this second segment where we look at strengths and weaknesses, and it's been a successful year for RJ but with RJ, there's just too much stuff to talk about for that. I do in a second want to get to our over-unders, but coming up in just a second, I've got one more trivia question for you. And I also want to ask about assists a little bit. And then we're going to pose a few over-under questions and get on out of here. All right. We'll have those conversations and a big old trivia coming up for my man Pac in just a second. All right, we are talking to RJ Davis here today on Locked on Tar Heels. And Pac, here is my trivia question for you. I think that you should probably be able to get this within at least 2 answers. Here's my trivia question. Who is North Carolina's all-time career leader in free throw percentage?
Wayne Ellington?
It is not Wayne Ellington. It is not. I can, while you're thinking of your next guess, I will look up Wayne's.
Hopefully he's close. I always felt like he was nails at the free throw line.
Dude.
Well, I mean, let's go with I'll go with RJ because
absolutely right. It's RJ Davis. My man RJ Davis is currently the career leader for Carolina in free throw percentage. Wayne, he's not showing up near. Wayne Ellington is 25th all time. He was 80.9% from the free throw line. Yes, RJ Davis right now is number 1 in Carolina history in career free throw percentage. Now, he's not number 1 in single season. That would be our guy, Shammond Williams, who shot the only 90+% season in Carolina history, 97-98. Shammond hit 91.1%. And it's not like he just took 10 free throws. He shot 146 of them. Wild, wild stuff there. But yes, RJ Davis right now, the career leader in free throw percentage for the Tar Heels, but it's just barely ahead of Shammond. Right now, RJ for his career is 271 out of 319, 0.8495. Shammond for his career was 0.8484. So that's how close it is. 0.8495, 0.8484. Ridiculous stuff right there from those two dudes. Really curious to see what RJ can do. Pac, let me ask you that question. As a basketball coach, how much of a weapon is it to have a guy, even though he's 6 foot tall, who's not afraid to get into the lane, try to finish, and even if he doesn't, you know that he's knocking down free throws at basically an 85% clip for his career?
So if I can get nerdy with you for a second.
Please. I love nothing more.
Free throws are actually the best shot in basketball, even more so than a layup, because of the points per possession that they get. So if you have a guy like RJ Davis that's shooting 88% from the free throw line, then you absolutely love it. You want to cash in on it as much as possible. And in fact, you look at that and you go, that's a major strength for us. And you want to tool that into your offense. And that's got to be, when you're looking and you're scheming and you're thinking, what are the things that we want out of our offense? It's got to be up there at the top. We want to find ways to get RJ to the paint so he can finish or get to the free throw line. Because when he gets there, that's as good as gold. Points per possession with him at the line is over a point per possession, which is basically nerdy term for saying that's really good. And we want to keep doing that.
Well, and I think here's what's awesome about this Carolina team who projects to be a better shooting team. Go ahead and collapse on my man RJ when he comes to the rim, and he's just going to kick out, and somebody else is going to make you pay. Or if you collapse on him, leaving Mondo alone, whoop, whoop, wrap around, dunk for Armando. Like, I just think there's so much that Carolina can do really well with that this year. Speaking of dumping off to Armando or kicking back out, RJ's assists were down a little bit last year. They were at a high his sophomore year, 3.6 assists per game. Last year, they were 3.2. So not down much, but, almost half an assist a game there. Where would you like to see RJ's assists numbers at this year? And I guess as compared to his turnover numbers, which going back was 1.9 turnovers per game last season.
I'd be fine with it staying in the 3.5 range.
Okay.
Because, and this is a big if, but if Cadeau projects or does what he projects, then I think he's going to take care of a lot of that, the creating and the assists. And that's going to relieve, kind of a big burden off of RJ's shoulders. But if we can get all of Cadeau's assists, and what we expect him to do, and you pair that with 3.5 from RJ, and don't forget, Harrison is kind of like a point forward himself, and he's going to come in with 3.5 or 4 assists. And so naturally, because of the balance and the unselfishness really that we have on this roster, I don't expect RJ's assist numbers to rise a ton, but I would like to see him stay the same.
Oh.
But like you said, you kind of mentioned the 1.9 turnovers per game. If we could get that down, that'd be great. Even if it's down to just 1.5 per game, that's a huge difference. And so mostly just taking care of the ball, but stay right where you're at on, the way you share it, and we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, I think I'm really curious to see what happens like when Elliot's out of the game. Is it RJ running that second unit? Is it Seth? Are they playing through Harrison Ingram a lot more? So with those questions, I'm with you. I even wouldn't be surprised to see if RJ went down a little bit more, maybe to like 3 assists per game. But also if he's handling the ball less, I also wouldn't be surprised to see those turnover numbers drop down to like 1 turnover a game. And man, I'll take a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio every day of the week right there, Pac. Yeah. All right, it's over under time, baby. Let's get after it. I'm actually going to start in a place that you would not expect me to start. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Double-digit rebound games this season for RJ Davis. This is the one I've been waiting on, man. I love it. Here's the over-under. Over-under 3.5 double-digit rebound games. And as a reminder, RJ had 3 of them last season.
And it was set at 3.5?
Yeah.
I'll take the over.
I'm here for it. Let's go.
2 reasons. First of all, RJ is an excellent rebounder for his size. Number 2, this team is smaller than we've had ever, at least in the last 10, 15 years.
Yep.
And he's going to have to. He's going to have some of those games for us. So, yeah, I'll take the over.
And especially because you would, Pac could tell you more about this than I would be able to intelligibly do, but you want, after a shot goes up, you need one of your guards getting back. More often than not, now that's going to be Elliot more so than RJ previously would have. So I think RJ will be sticking his nose in on rebounding action more than he previously would have as well. So I'm expecting that. Give me that over as well. I love to see it. RJ racking up those rebounds. All right, Pac, I told you just a couple minutes ago I was going to pose this one to you. 3-point shooting percentage. I'm going to set the over-under at that magical 40%. Let me give you the numbers again for his first 3 years. Freshman year, 32.3, sophomore year, 36.7, and last year, 36.2. So he's never done it for a full season. Can he this year?
Yeah, he can. I'm going to say that he hits the over on that. And I was just sitting here doing, the quick math in my head. So if he shoots 200 threes, kind of like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Then that would be him hitting 80 of them.
Woo-hoo.
I think he is more than capable of hitting 80 threes for us this season. So I take the over there. What about you?
I'm going to take the under, but I don't want to see just 200. I want like 250 attempts. And it's that kind of thing where if you're shooting 40%, I want you to actually take more attempts to just like fill it up, right? So I'm going to take the under, but I'm going to say, give me this, that he gets to 100 3-pointers made.
Okay.
Why not?
Just off the top of your head, you probably don't, but if he made 100 threes, would that be the most made threes in a season at Carolina?
No, Cam Johnson has the most. I actually do have this off the top of my head. Justin Jackson has the most, had 105 in the year that he was the ACC Player of the Year when Carolina won the national championship in 16-17. Interestingly, he's the only Tar Heel to ever do it. So RJ would become just the second. The guy that came the closest, you know who number 2 is on that list?
It's got to be Brady, right?
It is Brady Manek, 98, and then Cam Johnson was third with 96. Woof. Okay, one more. I'm not going to call it an over-under. I just want to pose to you that free throw question we were talking about. Okay. Can RJ similar to what I just said about him becoming the second ever Tar Heel to hit 100 threes in a season, can he become the second ever Tar Heel to shoot 90% from the free throw line, joining Shammond Williams? Or is that too lofty of a task?
Can he? Yes, he can. Will he? I'm going to say no. I think he's going to be there, a lot this season. And man, you step up there and hit 90%. That's tough to do.
That is.
So I'll take him to stick in that 87, 88% range,
which I'd be more than happy with.
Absolutely, yes. That 90 though, that's tough. I don't know if I could get in that, but I'll say he's close.
Yeah, I'm right there too. I'd love to see like a 50, 40, 90 season out of RJ. It's just such a unicorn of a statistical trio to do. And like you said, I think he's just going to have too many times at the line, but I will gladly take like a 45, 40, 85 season. That's gold to me if RJ can hit those three thresholds. So I would love to see that. All right, Pac Kilby. RJ Davis. What a joy to get to talk about him today. Friends, that's it for today's episode of Locked On Tar Heels. Our roster preview series rolls on next week as we get into our 8 million graduate students that are on this roster. Make sure you follow Pac on Twitter at Coach_K23. Follow me at Isaac Schade, and the show on X, I guess I should say, at Locked On Heels. You can shoot us an email at lockedontarheels@gmail.com. I want to thank you everydayers for being with us here every day. If you're brand new to the show or a frequent guest, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Come on in, be a part of this community all the time. Don't forget to subscribe on audio and video platforms. Smash the like button if you're watching on YouTube. And we'd love to hear your comments on RJ Davis. What do you think about all those over-unders? All right, folks, it's a great day always to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, but until then, Pac, you know what to do. Peace.